Consider supporting Sonicguru Productions on Patreon for just $1 a month. Link below in the description. Anyway, getting on to pseudo-Sonic related. Balan Wonderland, or Balin, or Balon, or Balloon, whatever.
How you pronounce it?
I'll just go Balan. There's no...
Yeah.
No, there's no way to pronounce it. I'm not going to pronounce it any other way, okay?
Yeah.
This is the new game from Square Enix, specifically from Yuji Naka and Naoto Ohshima.
Yeah, basically the programmer design and the original designer of Sonic 1, 2, basically of Sonic Team, and now they just made their own little company within Square.
Yeah, there was also because, as you all know or unaware, Yuji Naka left during development of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Yeah, that's
which rocked things quite a bit. And also the team split in two, so the other half went on to try and make a port of 06, then turned it into Secret Rings to use the motion controls.
So yeah, it's one of the reasons why 06 ended the way it is, because we got rid of our team leader and programmer who decided I've had enough and I'm leaving, and then subsequently tried to desperately put this thing together. No wonder why it turned into a mess.
They sent out the beta.
Yeah.
That's you played a demo and it's a lot more better than the final game.
I know.
Anyway, after he left, he created a company called ProPay. It's spelled Prope, but there's some interesting stuff like Let's Tap, which was just a puzzle game with a box.
It was it was just a typical, you just get a box and you tap on the Wii remote and it makes your characters run. He did Ivy the Kiwi, which is a sort of lemming style puzzle game.
That was fun. That was surprisingly fun to play. It dragged a bit, but it was surprisingly a fun little game. Yeah. And the one after that with I can't remember the company name. Give me a minute. I have it right here. Kadokawa Games made Rodea the Sky Soldier, which was delayed so fucking long.
Well, here's the thing. He made Rodea of his own company, and then they did a port version of it for the Wii U, which surprisingly enough was one of the reasons the game got delayed, because it was meant to be for the Wii.
Kadokawa wanted to make their own version to use the Wii U because Rodea would have been released at the end of the Wii's life cycle.
Yeah.
It would have been one of those cult late hits.
Yeah, well, one of those last games that people go, oh, this was out before the new console kicked in type deal.
Yeah, like Kirby's Adventure. Which is still a good game. It's just that was released very late.
Yeah, but either way, he has made a couple of games since leaving Sonic Team, and we did talk a while back when he did move to Square and he was working on something. So we finally got to see it because this game is now as a demo. You can play it now on PS4, Xbox, even the Switch apparently. So people have got a chance to play it. So
I played the Switch, but I played them on the Switch version. You played on PS4.
Yes.
So we got a bit of a variety here. And we initial trailer Balan, we look at it, and it's just nights. It's nights.
It's what people would call a spiritual successor, which is, I always find that a bit odd. It's kind of like, because really I view that in the same with Kickstarter games, like Mighty Number 9, it's Mega Man, but we don't have the rights, or Ukulele, those type of deals. But this game is clearly aping off the aesthetics and feel of Night. But in terms of a game, that was the weird thing, because they did a trailer for this, I think, back around about last year, was it, I think?
Yeah, it was last year during the live stream E3.
Yeah. And to be fair, we didn't really know what the game was going to, at least what the game was actually going to play like, because we got the idea and the setting of it, but not really a clear idea what you were actually going to do, apart from the only thing they showed off was that you were going to be in dream worlds and you were going to inhabit these different costumes, allowing you to do different abilities.
Yeah, and that's it. And we got a character who looked like Knights, but had a hat for a head.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference is Knights is about the idea of a being living in dreams. This guy instead is like a sort of, I don't know what you call him. It's not really confirmed, but he's a showmanship. He has like an empty stage where people come in. He will sort of put on a show, song and dance, and seemingly will drift them through people's emotional turmoils and whatever.
When I reminded of the film Dr. Panassa's Imaginarium.
Well, maybe I would laugh if Naka watched Parnassus if he saw.
I just remembered that, and it's kind of the same little detail. Like it's that Imaginarium is based on their own hearts and minds.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea that it could lead you to two sides. You can either go the light or the dark end. Of course, in that it was basically in one end, you know, in that game, in that film, basically was you could lead into a better life, or you go with the devil. That was how that worked.
Yeah, it was a weird film.
It's a Terry Gilliam film, so it's always going to be a bit odd.
You know, the time banners was odd.
Oh Lord! But either way, yeah. So similar setup is in the idea is we saw from the cutscene the idea the story is going to be about these two kids. You can play as either of them. They don't play any different. They're just male or female. And you went into what seemingly the game is. Well, actually, best say you played a bit of it. What did you think of what we got?
Mainly a case of what the fuck am I doing, and what the hell is going on? Because there's even though everything is told visually, but you need to say a lot more than show. Because I haven't played the female character. I don't know what her gripe is, but the boy, he's breakdancing. He does a Sonic pose.
I was just saying that. I swear to God, that's taken from like a victory pose from Generations. I swear to God,
it is a victory pose from Generations.
Oh Christ, yes.
That is the Sonic breakdance pose.
Right, so they're clearly putting their references in there, folks. So they haven't forgotten.
Heart on their sleeves, yeah. And your kid's like, "Oh, want to dance with us?" He's like, "Nah." And like he's depressed. It's like you're just showing us some good breakdancing things. Other kids want you to pass the ball to them, and you couldn't give two shits. It's like the world owes you a favor or something. And all of a sudden, you get distracted by a Tim with a little bird they call Tims.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, in the game, there are these little furry creature things which you can sort of. They have like a sort of little area you can sort of feed them these crystal things, and in the game, they follow you and actually attack enemies. Something I noticed. But the fact they're called Tims—that's what I find weird. It's like of all the names you would give a cute, fluffy creature, you go with something called Tim. That's not a name I would associate with.
As long as I don't shoot fire, I'm good.
But I'll get onto a Chow thing in a minute. But yeah. So I played the female character. I played recently, and the introduction of her, that she's living. I'm guessing she's living in a manor house, and all these servants are like sort of talking against her back. So I guess it's like the idea of thinking people are always. I did read the backstory. Apparently, she's meant to look like a happy, nice girl, but everybody's always a bit suspicious of what she's done, or everybody's always behind their backs and sort of maybe bad mouthing her, and she's been anxiety driven by that. So that's seemingly the idea of this game. The two protagonists have some emotional issues or something that maybe.
Yeah, the idea is they're missing part of their heart.
Yeah.
Which again is nice because you have the idiots.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to make a Knights game, just make a Knights game, but or at least a spiritual thing. Like I want to play as Balan, which I'll get to in a bit because that part is just that is like what the hell.
Yeah, even I've got to think about that.
Again, there's no story. There's references and suggestions of these characters and why. There's no explanation of why Balan is the way he is, or what he is, or how he does the things he does.
Yeah.
Again, my name Dr. Parnassus is the closest thing I can think of for a reference. Like he has a power. Like is this the mind rather than the dreamscape? Because they got the farmer who's depressed because his cornfield got taken over, got destroyed by a tornado.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, in the game.
Something. Yeah, but even then, it's like I'll get to the gameplay in a bit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the thing with each of the levels, because we're given like 3 levels that are split into like acts, some of the Sonic, but in this case, like they're all themed over different people's things. So there's the farmer, which when you enter a farmland world, which is all fantasy and whatever. There's a kid who wishes to fly, so there's bits of mechanical things and bikes, whatever. And there's a girl involving a cat. So the idea is each one has like their own emotional turmoil, and you're going through like their issues, similar to like Psychonauts actually. If the levels are more themed like Psychonauts, where you enter somebody's mind and it's all their dreams or fears sort of mashed together in elements from the real world, whatever. And you see that like in the girl one there's like images of like traffic lights for some reason. And I think later on in the game, they put this on the Twitter pages, and apparently she found a cat, and it's implied that maybe the cat was run over during crossing the road or something.
Mm.
So again, it's that sort of thing of each of these people have an issue, and you're there to go through I guess, their mindset or whatever. In fact, I noticed in the intro that when they walk in, there's actually like frames of like what look like old shows, but they're actually of those events. So you see the farmer, you see the girls. So it's like you're going through a stage production of somebody's life, essentially.
Huh.
And again, the game is centered around like you're in an abandoned theater where this character seems to live in, and of course, like he does a whole song and dance, when he first shows up. So the idea, and when you go into the levels, they're like doors or curtains open up. So it's very much based on the theatrical nature of things. I think that's the big difference with Nights, whereas that is all in dreams and kind of Circus LA. This is more like putting on a show in a theater type thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. I completely gone.
The gameplay.
It's like there's a lot of substance over style over substance. That's the phrase. Like this game has a very distinct style. Like you can notice it like a mile off.
Yeah.
And like you said, the theming of each of these characters and the events they go through, that can carry a game. There's been games that have done that just as well. I can't remember what game I cried at. Like even I'm trying to get a good example. BioShock Infinite, it's ending.
Yeah.
And then compare and do that later with Burial at Sea.
Yeah, the Burial at Sea 2-part.
It's like you get that theming. And there's also, especially with Andrew Ryan in BioShock 1, it make you understand. I didn't cry at BioShock, mind you. I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, almost when the Burial at Sea part, because Jesus Christ, that nearly choke.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the thing with even with like Ratchet, like the idea of that world is, and it's a New York City under sea, but it's in this Art Deco world, and it's like the character, the crazy artist guy, his name forgets me, but like his entire level is based on theater and theatricality and all that stuff, and the irony of that character that he wants to be portrayed as this great artist or musician, but reality he's actually just a hack. He's just a hack, behind a pair of rabbit ears, which is, he says, he can't take them off. He can't take off that identity.
Yeah. Well, if it makes kind of makes sense. It was a wedding ring, but no. No, seriously, I take this off. I feel naked. But getting onto the still on the visual style, on getting onto the gameplay, because that is the biggest fucking problem of this game.
Yeah, there's some...
And again, pretense again. This is a demo, but even then, a demo is meant to sell you on something. And right now, it has a better chance of selling me Sonic 06.
Oh god,
that's how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll say this. Technically, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no real glitches or anything. In fact,
there's some frame rate drops, but but even then, on the visual side of things, like the theming and style, that's fine. They are great. Graphically, on the presentation and on gameplay, it looks like a game from like late PS2.
I would say it's kind of, if they made this on the PS2, it's kind of that thing of, if they made this on the PS2, it would look okay, but now it's on current gen, it's like they have a bit more of the flourish. They could do particle effects and shine and lighting, so it's like, it's still a decent looking game for what it is.
Yeah, it's still decent. I think, again, graphics don't make a game, but when it's on a console that can actually make... What game had such great fucking looks? I played it. I played it on my look at my shelf. Games like Yakuza and Resident Evil with its RE engine.
Yeah.
Like, they look fucking fantastic. Like, this doesn't look any different than, say, Ape Escape 4 or 3 or 4. Was there a fourth one?
Well, that's
and there's also a game about a girl with a hammer. I can't remember what it was called. That it doesn't look any better than that. Jack and Daxter look better.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue. I mean, from a technical standpoint, they're probably more sufficient games. I mean, I've been playing Doom Eternal a lot, which that thing is just rock solid in terms of a technical engine. Because it knows what they're doing. But in terms of the game itself, just from presentation style, art direction, whatever, you got Naoto. I mean, this is again the original great character designer and level designer. So it's like you're going to get a good looking game from this guy.
Yeah, but it looks like there's nothing there. This game, this I'm still focusing on the. I only talk about the farmer level because that's the only one I played through.
All right.
Because I couldn't stand playing anymore.
Well, I've actually played it twice, both as the boy and girls. I've played most of
I should go back and play as the girl.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look finished. And I'm looking at a GIF right now on the Sonic Stadium, and it's like you go back and forth around these areas, and the world kind of evolves as you walk around, like you're playing Bastion or something.
Yeah, in the farm level,
like in 2D that can work. Isometric that can work, because it builds and it got a whole world and it stays there. You can go backwards. The world just kind of just pops into existence as you move and disappear as you move away.
Yeah,
so basically, when you're trying to look around for the statues and gems that you have to collect, you can't tell because they disappeared. You can't get a foot on anything.
Well, actually, this is the thing I'm going to point out. Like I said, I played it. The farm level, particularly, they have this effect like as you move in, they kind of like have the level curve around you, so it looks a bit warped as it straightens out. But
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, kind of in the sense that you're like on the globe, but in this case, it's like I said, it sort of curves around you and stuff, and like for the most part, like things look like they're rising or dissipating how far you go from things. But from what I've done, like a few times I've gone back to try and find these statues, because the gimmick of this game is like you have to find statues of the main character to proceed to the next sort of levels. And for the most part, I could find them. I mean, I would just sort of run around and like check out little areas, and there would be like a little special puzzle-like thing or a thing on top of something else. Like, okay, I've got to get up there, but what do I need and whatever stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit of puzzle solving here and there because you have to use the outfits and you have to run little abilities. Like one of them spins, the other one flutter jumps, like Yoshi.
Yeah,
you become a plan and stretch, like that plant thing from Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, similar to the Odyssey one, yeah.
And you collect three. You can get up to three at a time, but you can stack multiples of these, and you like end up having like three fucking spinning wolves. It's like, okay, so what do I do with this? Oh yeah, you have to go to a different level to get that one character and come back and solve a puzzle in the other level.
Yeah,
and it's like that's the puzzle solving. It's just like you're just making us backtrack to various levels and go through all these loading screens to get one statue.
Yeah, that's something I noticed when I did like the first playthrough of this. Is like I noticed like a lot of times I was going to walk back to like the save area, like the checkpoint, which if you stand there long enough, you can go into like this little curtain thing and you can change your outfits, the ones you gather throughout the game, and hopefully to solve the puzzle. But one thing I noticed, as you said, is like certain ones you have to get certain outfits in other levels before you can go back and do it. Like there's a cog one, for instance, in the girl cat one, which allows you to move objects around, lower arrays and stuff. And again, you get that in a later level, and then you can go back to say the farmer one, and there's a section where you can get that figured out.
And even then, the actual gameplay itself, it's just the characters move like Mario does in Mario 64.
They look faster than actually what they're moving. I've heard some people say that they look they're running quicker than they actually are.
And they kind of lean when you turn, but it doesn't feel right. It's hard to describe without actually playing it itself, but they don't feel like you have fully control over their movement.
Yeah,
it's like they're kind of loose, but not loose, and slow when they look fast, and stiff when it's just slippery. It doesn't make the movement doesn't make any sense.
It just playing it, like you said, when you play it, I mean, the characters do what you do. They run, jump, whatever, but it's very basic. Like very basic. You run over here, you jump over this. It's like it feels a bit kind of like you said, loose. Everything's very floaty. Everything feels very floaty when you do actions at times.
Yeah, it's kind of mismatched when he feels like he does one thing, it does the opposite, and even then the opposite is not right because it doesn't look like can you jump? Yeah, you can jump, but it feels a bit heavy, but it doesn't look heavy.
Yeah, there's kind of a weird arc as well. Like oftentimes I would try and jump over things, and sometimes the arc isn't as long as you think it is. There's a few cases I've had that. There's also certain costumes will allow you to do certain things. Like there's one that's a rabbit, which allows you to sort of jump in the air and kind of like semi kind of hover in the air for a few seconds, like a cartoon character, and then you eventually draw. And I found that one really underwhelming because I rarely use that one. It just didn't really work for a lot of the time. But then the other one's there's like a pig one, which allows you, for instance, when you jump, you have like a little gliding motion. So you could jump in the air and you have a few seconds of gliding onto an object. And particularly this one, it has like a butt stamp, so you can sort of push levers down with it. One.
Yeah, I could do about the freaking float. It's like jump, okay, I'll press again, down. You could do without the freaking float.
I mean, it came helpful for me because sometimes I would try and jump onto the other platforms, and that would actually get me through some of them.
Yeah. I don't know. When I expect something to work the way 99% of other games do it, and it doesn't do the same way, it feels alien.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to dedicate some brain cells to how this game actually plays.
Because
like at least when I'm also playing Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah.
At least then, a majority of the control, there's some new differences here and there between 3, 4, and now 5. Also DMC Devil May Cry. The basic controls are what you expect of it. This is not what I expect.
No, this one's a bit odd. I mean, one thing I noticed in the controller is then technically every button is a jump button. Like you can press X, square, circle, or triangle, and they'll jump. And only occasionally,
even LRR freaking jumps.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the only few controls actually do anything is you got the two L and R buttons, you know, to sort of swap costumes or whatever, and then occasionally the jump thing will give them a secondary action. But yeah, it's a bit odd, and especially when particularly the platforming in this game, which is really, I mean, you mentioned Odyssey with one of the costumes. I mean, this ain't Odyssey, I'll tell you that. This ain't that type of game.
No. But I think I described it to you. I even described it on Twitter. This feels like a game from 1995.
You said it's a game like Sonic Team had just figured out how to do 3D, I think.
Yeah, it's like they're still figuring out how to do games in 3D. It doesn't feel like it's a game that should actually be sold. It feels like a tech demo. It feels like they're and that sounds harsh, but I'm being perfectly honest here. Like Rodea was a better game. That game you could play single-handedly. Well, the Wii version.
Yeah.
That game you can play single-handedly. It was free flowing. It had a unique style, and like no other game was actually like it.
Yeah, I mean
Billy Hatcher as well. Okay, had a different team behind that one, and it was still with Sega. Yeah. But it was a unique premise. It had a unique gameplay style, and it worked. It was a much more fun game. Even Night's Journey of Dreams, which was a post Yuji Naka game, was better.
Yeah.
This feels like they're still not understanding what a 3D platformer is, especially when we have other 3D platformers that came out or going to come out later and before this. And I hate to say it, but Ukulele did 3D platforming better than this. And that's harsh because that's not really a good 3D platformer. It's not a good collectathon platformer.
No,
but it's not incompetent.
No. I mean, this is again. I think people. Where do I begin with this? I mean, okay, so Rodea. I mean, you mentioned like Rodea definitely felt like a more fun game because you had this ability. You could just fling the Wii remote and you were able to sort of jump off and fly around the place. The only problem with that game I had was they didn't give you a D-pad. They didn't give you like the analog control to actually play it. You had to use the D-pad, which just felt really awkward and really sloppy to me. That was the one thing I just felt. I wish they would have just had the nunchuck available to play with that character because it just like that alone felt like if I could just control that and along with the camera and use the D-pad as the camera thing, I think that would have made it a lot better.
Yeah. I think the game was expecting you to stay in the air as long as possible.
Ideally, although there are cases where you'll be jumping into different things. I remember one case where I had to escape from something and I just got lost in the roof because the camera was getting in the way and I was sticking to the wall, so I just didn't know what the hell to do. And also in terms of this game, like you said, it's like the big thing people criticize this is like it feels like a game that is 10 years maybe too late in terms of how it feels and controls. And considering
Like,
how much
yeah, if this came out like again for the Sega Saturn, like if this came out after Nights,
Mm.
like okay, we get it. It's like a little 3D platformer. Like, could we get a Sonic game out of this? It would work. Like,
Mm.
it wouldn't look as good. I mean, the Saturn was notoriously hard to develop for,
Exactly, yeah.
but it could be something.
Right.
This
I
and
will
this is
say-
and this is Yuji Naka's chance to prove that he's a good game designer. He's a good programmer. He's not going to get a second chance.
Yeah, I did read about that. Apparently, they only did this if he pulled this through from Square. So this is a bit of a tough gamble. But I will say the one thing I will say this: you mentioned Nights, Jenny Dreams. I mean, one thing a lot of people complained about that game was when you played as the two kids in their levels, it was like bog standard platforming thing. I will say this game feels a little bit more like you took those elements, but it's a little bit more developed. Like there's a bit more going on with the levels when you're playing as those kids. At least in Wonderland, it feels like there's a bit more thought into it in terms of what you can do and what type of things are possible with the different costumes. In fact, the biggest thing I would say this game reminded me of was like Ape Escape, as you said. Like that game, you run around the levels, collecting items, but you had the main gimmick of collecting the different monkeys and the different abilities allow you to do them faster, quicker, whatever. And in this case, the one thing I would say that sort of annoys me in this game is that it reminds me a lot of Banjo-Tooie, which, long story short here, I played the demo of Banjo-Tooie, thought it was fun, and then I built the game, and then when I played it halfway through, I hated it. I absolutely despised it because so much of that game was get this jiggy. Oh, you can't because you haven't got this ability. You have to go all the way back here to do this thing before you get that one thing. So a lot of the times when I think I was about to get an object or thing, it told me, sorry, you can't, or what, cheese it, whatever. So I had to go back. And a lot of this game, there's part of a game where it felt like, oh, this is going down the same fucking route, isn't it? Oh, I'm going to hate this. But I have replayed it since then. I've done the other levels. I've tried out the different costumes and see what other things. And for the most part, my second playthrough of it was a bit more fun, partly because I knew what I was doing and what the different abilities were able to do. And there are some cases where the game allows you to be a bit exploratory. Like there's some levels where there's one the kid level, which is all to do about flying. For instance, you get a costume that's basically sheep that allows you to puff off into a giant ball and you can hover on these fans. In fact, one part of it, I saw a little gap behind something, and I thought, like, what if because you can float. I thought, what if I just went down there and I just floated and it allowed me to it, and I got another area that I could explore. So there is a bit of exploratory in this game. There is some elements of that, particularly with the different abilities. But again, it does worry me a little bit that looking at this game, I think the worst thing is people will look at this and go like, haha, the father of Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't know how to make games anymore. And it's like, look, we don't know, all right?
He can make games. I just think he
Yeah.
needs. I think he's at the point where he needs a bit more guidance. I think that's what Sega allowed him to have. Yeah, yeah. It's. I just think giving him free giving. I can't make this sound like any less harsh than it is.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like when I can't remember what it was. When someone actually like, yeah, can't remember his name. John Romero. There we go.
John Romero.
Yeah, when he was with id and he had his ideas and how to do things,
Mm-hmm.
he had a team. They all worked together. What worked, what didn't, and crafted together some great games.
Mm.
He left. He said he's going to do his own thing. He made Ion Storm, well, part of Ion, and they were working on Daikatana.
Yeah, which famously made everybody say you're going to be his bitch, basically, famously.
Well, the marketing department, he wasn't
Sorry.
There's always a story behind it, but he's just famous for that. And yes,
Yeah.
Ion Storm also made Deus Ex, which is actually fucking good. But that's the thing when you actually give these icons like, oh, we're going to go off and do our own thing, it never works. I don't think there's actually been a game where the actual sorry.
It's a 50-50 gamble. It's like when you give someone who's become popular or prolific for whatever they've done, and it's like, I'm going to do my magnus opus thing. That's when it's like, well, they probably get some people say that's when passion projects don't work because they either go too far or not enough, or they undersell it or oversell it. Look at Peter Molyneux. How many times has he said this game's going to do this, and it turns out it isn't. So I don't know.
Again, Mighty Number 9,
Yeah.
Kenji Inafune, it didn't work. The game just wasn't that good. Ukulele, X-Rare Employees, it just wasn't that good. Impossible Layer, much better. I prefer playing in the overworld than the actual main game. That's just me.
Yeah.
Well, the other game, Daikatana with John Romero. And there was another one, and I can't remember who the guy's name. The only one that worked was Bloodstained.
Yeah.
Because they got 3 games out of that. I mean, you got Ritual and Night, which was the main one that was kickstarted, but they made 2 classic style ones called Curse of the Moon.
Yeah.
And they're freaking excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Like I said, it falls into that whole like spiritual successor Kickstarter like type gaming where we want to make the game as well, but we can't use the actual license, so we can make these like, I would say the worst case, the like off-brand versions of them. It's like Mega Man, but not as good and whatever. So in a way, people, because again, I think the big issue with this game is obviously, in a way, it reminds me a lot of Nights. And I like both with Nights and this is like I like the conceit, the world, and the execution for the visuals. I love all that. It's the game itself I'm not hot with.
That's the biggest problem. I'd rather watch a film or a TV series of this style and with these.
It does mean
with these themes. Like you could make a little put on Netflix, Hulu, whatever, and have 5-minute movies of these scenarios and how they overcome them, and how to get out of depression, how to get out of anxiety, how to get out of this turmoil, the turmoil that they're in.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wouldn't mind. Again, like you said, they could make these an anthology series. Have the stage be the setting, and then each story is like a different person in turmoil or whatever. I mean, we said it before. Like, you can make Nights into a feature. Like, that's a good enough conceit to make as a feature. Kids enter the world of dreams to solve their issues, along with the dream world as well. There's a good idea for stuff. In fact, put it this way: if Sega are going to make more movies, come on, guys, Nights is just sitting there. You've got gold there. Just mind the damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the freaking animation budget.
Exactly. I mean, you got enough visual effects. I mean, hell, the cutscenes done for this game, they're done by the same people who did Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Mankind Divided. Like, these guys know what the hell they're doing, so that alone is worth it. I mean, all right. 2 other things.
Also, that Ghost Trying ended up right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been rambling a lot for this one.
There's a lot to say for something so small.
Yeah. But there's 2 things I want to really get onto, at least. I mean, there's one thing is, one, of course, like you said, we talked about you play these kids with different abilities and whatever. You don't get to play as the main character until you find his hat lying down in a level. And if you collect it, you get what you seem to thinking, oh, I get to control him. Oh, he's flying. All that stuff is like, wait, it's a quick time event. What the fuck?
It's a quick time event where you have to get it just right, which is... Honestly, it puts the hookshot part of the Sonic Forces levels for the Avatar in perspective.
Yeah, it
because
really does.
They were actually fun because it's a circle and you can actually hit it. This is the characters moving and you have to get the silhouette perfect.
Yeah,
it's like those little you ever tried those little GIFs where it has the characters moving around? It's like get the characters in the silhouette by pausing the GIF.
Yeah, it's that type of thing.
It's that.
It's that. I mean, particularly there's one cases where he will you see an outline of a pose and you wait for him to get to that and you press the button. And there's another one where it's like, it says press the button when you see these poses rapidly, which is like, you have to do it as they're heading to his body or as they're all coming.
I don't know. I just mash buttons.
Yeah, exactly. So that one is. And it doesn't help because you have him flying around this like, empty thing doing all these cool tricks. And you're thinking, yeah, I want to fucking do that. Can you give me control of him so I can do that rather than just watch a bunch of animation and make me press one button? So
it's like that part where you first watched Devil May Cry 4 in the opening. It's like, I want to do that.
Exactly. I mean, how many times isn't that the big conceit with most people when they say quick time events? It's like, you got all these amazing stuff. It's like, could I be in control of that? Could I be actually running through that cave in or whatever rather than just press a button and watch the animation do it for me?
Yeah, instead of like you'd rather be playing Guitar Hero, at least have that be a music stage or something.
Exactly. I mean, hell, the character seems to be on theatricality. Why not do that with him? In fact, actually, one thing I could say is that when you defeat the boss, which I will say is quite underwhelming because it's like, it's really both It doesn't tell you a lot, and yet it's very.
I think I beat him accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. But when
it,
you do,
it feels like I didn't. It feels like I didn't hit him. It's like all of a sudden, oh, you beat him. Like, what did I do? What did I do?
That was easy. Yeah, that was easy.
Is it like that freaking? Is it like that freaking skill thing in Breath of the Wild where to stand on a platform completely naked until sunrise?
Oh, right. Christ.
I wish I was kidding.
No, I believe you. I believe you, man. But yeah, apparently when you defeat the boss, when you reform the farmer to his former self, they do like a full-on song and dance. It starts off like.
Oh God, my mind completely blocked that out.
Did you? Well, the funny thing is,
oh God, I just remember. It's like all of a sudden my mind just went, what? It's like it's like I think it's called MMD or MDD. It's basically all those character models, so you get into a dance routine.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
That's the way it looked like. It looked like these just static, dead-eyed characters just going on to a motion captured dance routine. It's just like, okay, I can understand the kid dancing, but what the fuck the farmer learn how to do those moves?
Well, it's not that. It's like it starts off, you're reforming, and they walk up to each other like they're about to hold hands, and there's like a very gentle song in the background. You think, it's going to be really sappy, like Japanese song, and it's so like, no, full on dance and sing, folks. It's like, okay, this is weird.
At least the freaking dance at the end of Bayonetta was actually something. That was fun to watch. That was fun to watch.
Yes,
get your head out of the gutter. I mean, fun to watch as in dancing.
Yeah.
The actual music was good as well.
Yeah, but the music. We will say
that. But that was actually built up. It's like Bayonetta was like a dancer. Like there was some fluidity to a movement. This just comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh, the kid can dance. It's like he did that once in the intro, and he got pissed off because people wanted to dance with him.
Yeah, but you can do that with the film as well. So
there was no point for that.
I know. I don't know. I mean, you could argue it's all in the, this is a child's point of view or whatever, again, like, because we're in people's imagination, whatever, you could say it's a kid's view of it, but whatever.
A child's point of view should have grown three times bigger and transformed into a tiger.
Well, dreams don't have to make sense if it is a dream, if they're in there. But, all right.
I dreamt once I was best friends with Dante.
All right, I'll promise this will be the last two things. So on the one hand, after, like I said, I played the demo, I had my misgivings, like you said. I thought it felt a bit stiff and a bit lifeless in places and whatever, but I replayed it. I've tried out some of the other areas, and there is some stuff I'm starting to like in it and stuff. Like there is some little quirks. I was like, okay, I could see this going off. Again, this is the demo so far. It gives you 3 levels. The first one gives you 2 acts in the boss fight, and the other 2 give you 1 level of an act. So there's going to be more, obviously. And I will say that they do different things in there. And I'm going to give this game a chance. Like, it does have the chance to buckle up some of its stuff. If the game does kick up a gear after the initial, first few levels and you start doing it, I will give it that lenience. But I have one thing, is then if this game doesn't end with you playing the main character and actually flying, that you can actually fly with this guy, I'm taking that fucking back. Because trust me, you cannot have a character who in the intro is doing all this amazing shit and you only get to press buttons for him to do this stuff. Come on, folks, you can't fucking do that. That's just wrong. And again, we are fans, we've talked for years about how, Yuji Naka and the various Sonic Team people are talented people. They're not bad people by any means. They're not monsters, but
no, they're not Steam Dash trying to go kick butt on trading cards.
Exactly. They're not doing something like that. But it's like, it annoys us. It's like, we know they can do better. They can do better. And whether they're just not pushing it far enough or whether this is the best they can do, that's annoying and kind of disappointing for us.
I think the only reason this game is going to sell it or basis on the name alone. It's like there are 2 things. Either A, you really want to know what... morbid curiosity, because it's like, even we don't know what the hell this game was about. It's obviously it looks really weird, but also very intriguing. I want to know what this game is. Exactly. So morbid curiosity is going to sell this game. The other reason, which is more obvious reason, is that it's a Yuji Naka game with Naoto Ohshima as the character designer, and that's the only, and that's probably the more likely reason. I'd say the only reason why this game is going to sell and why people are going to own it. But because of that, it's also going to be the only game that Yuji Naka and Ohshima are going to freaking make out of Square Enix.
Probably. Again, we don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe the damn thing will sell like hotcakes or whatever. We don't know yet.
Yeah, but even then, they care about the Metacritic score, which should be fucking polished, as well as Rotten Tomatoes. Stop advertising. Say 95% Rotten Tomatoes. Who gives a shit? I saw one advert of what was it? Coco when that came out, and it said 99 on Rotten Tomatoes. A week later, 97 on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, gee whiz! It's not like it's actually fluctuating when the film comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, well,
stop relying on Rotten Tomatoes for your freaking ideology and opinions.
Let's be
and
fair.
Metacritic.
Let's be fair. If we're talking with the Sonic community, it's like, let's be fair. How many times have we seen a game get the shit kicked out of it by not just the Metacritic, but just like general people like saying, "What is this bollocks? You people are idiots for liking it in the first place," all that stuff. And that's when I'm slightly worried it's going to end up being the punching bag for a lot of those tossers out there on the web. And
yeah, it's also the fact that this game would actually end up in that cult area where people will actually like it. Like every few months, there's always that thing saying, "Oh, this game is underrated. You should totally play it," and it's freaking Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's like the game was unique for the first 5 minutes of playing, and after that, it just basically kind of dragged down. I don't know why I completed it, but I completed it.
You did.
I don't remember how.
Yeah, you struggled. You struggled.
But anyway, I struggled. I had no internet at the time. What the fuck was I gonna do?
Yeah, but anyway, super last thing. I've mentioned this at the very beginning, but the one thing I will say about this game is that when you start off, you enter the sort of hub world where you can access levels. But particularly, this is also where you get to seemingly both feed and take care of the Tims. Now, knowing you and your ever-present talk about why the hell is there not a Chow mini game, looking at this, what do you think of this being a sort of? How do you feel they've, at least from what's been shown, what do you think of it?
Absolutely zero. There's no. All I can think of is at least it's better than Nighttopians from Nights into Dreams. But it's like, oh, these chicks need gems. It's like, okay, here's a gem, but you can only do it on certain patches of flowers, and then they gobble them all up and get a bit bigger and then lay eggs, and here's more. It's like there's no interactivity. There's not even it's not even Tamagotchi.
There's only one.
It's just a level above a fucking pet rock. The Tims look cute, but they're not endearing.
There is one weird thing, though. You notice there's a little encounter in there, and there's like a little wheel thing. I discovered you can get them in there, and if you keep the numbers going up, they can do it themselves, or you can throw them in there. That's what you can do. You can throw the little buggers. But apparently, if you do enough, they'll build like a tower. So seemingly, that's the idea. And the more you play the game, the more things they could go on to or do things. So there is something, but like I said, it is weird to see this do essentially a Chow Garden years later, but still not quite. Definitely not to your taste. I know you would have a lot of more things you would like to expand on with them.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, for all our rambling, if we got all the way up here, I mean, again, for what the game is, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it just feels underwhelming. I mean, if you took them by the look and the style of the game, fair enough, but it's not going to reinvent the world. But I want it ideally as a, for someone who likes to support these guys, I want them the best to do. I really do. At the end of the day, if this is the game they wanted to make and the way they want to play it, fair enough, but it isn't going to be to everybody's taste. And I'm just worried that we're going to get a big backlash of this in the future. And oh God, I cannot bear people doing hot takes on this, bitching about it. I really can't.
Well,